In sunny Italy, temperatures soared to 45 degrees Celsius. And this was not midday, but just 9 in the morning. Welcome to the new reality of Europe in 2025, where the once lush green continent has transformed into a massive scorching furnace. The current conditions are not mere summer heat, they are climate-induced catastrophes unfolding in real time. Meteorologists have given these fierce heat waves ominous names, Cerberus and Haran, after mythic figures associated with death. It all began with what's called a thermal explosion in the Sahara Desert. Picture a colossal fan, spanning an entire continent, relentlessly blowing scorching air across Europe. An immense anticyclone formed over the continent's southern part, creating a heat shield akin to a giant glass lid that sealed off half of Europe, turning it into a greenhouse. In the Spanish city of Granada, thermometers registered an unprecedented 46 degrees Celsius, setting a new record for the region's entire observational history. To put it into perspective, in the hottest parts of the planet, such as some areas in the United States, similar temperatures are not uncommon during summer. Yet the real alarm isn't just these numbers, it's the impact on daily life. Tourists can no longer wander freely through the streets. They seek refuge in shady trees or dampen themselves with fountain water, as the eternal city seems to be burning under a hellish sky. Coastal regions are ablaze with wildfires, devouring centuries-old olive groves, forcing more than 20,000 people to evacuate. The sky blazes with unnatural light, resembling scenes from disaster films, while ash falls like snow amid the summer heat. The tourism industry across southern Europe collapses before our eyes. Hotels are emptying, flights are being canceled, and aircraft cannot take off amid such record-breaking heat. Hotel owners on the Spanish island of Majorca watch helplessly as guests cancel their bookings en masse, seeking cooler destinations elsewhere. The figures are both shocking and alarming. Last summer, if the temperature had been just 3 or 4 degrees lower, Europe lost approximately 62,000 lives from heat stroke, more than the population of a small city. Most victims were elderly citizens unable to endure such extreme conditions. Medical professionals have dubbed this heat a silent killer. Unlike hurricanes or earthquakes, it claims lives gradually and unnoticed. Emergency crews are on duty around the clock, but even they often struggle to keep up. Worryingly, many European homes are unprepared for such heat. In northern France, Germany, and Britain, air conditioning systems are rare or non-existent. In Madrid, home to over 3.5 million residents, temperatures soared up to 41 or 42 degrees Celsius, well above the usual June mark of about 30. Portugal faces similar struggles. In Santarém, positioned 80 kilometers from Lisbon, temperatures topped 45 degrees, a reach more typical of desert climates than of Europe. In nearby Lizíria do Tejo, temperatures climbed to 42 degrees, exceeding the normal climate range by over 12 degrees. France, long famed for its moderate climate, also found itself caught in this heat trap. In Marseille, the country's second-largest city, the thermometer rose to a blistering 40 degrees Celsius, illustrating how extensively this heat wave has disrupted Europe's traditional weather patterns. The Azure coastline has transformed into a blazing frying pan, where vacationers accustomed to lounging on beaches from around the world now face temperatures soaring to 40 degrees Celsius. Yet, this intense heat is just one aspect of the far-reaching changes unfolding right now, which compel us to reconsider our assumptions about Europe's future. For those interested in these critical issues, it's worth noting that we maintain a Telegram channel that features exclusive content not shared on YouTube, such as satellite images, insider insights from analysts, and reports on strange or dangerous events. All these updates prompt reflection on what is happening globally. The link to the channel can be found in the description and pinned comment below. Meanwhile, as tourists seek shade and turn on air conditioning, the European economy is gradually crumbling under the relentless pressure of the scorching sun. An unvarnished reality, not mere hyperbole. This decline is mathematically planned and already costing the continent hundreds of billions of euros. Let's start with the Rhine, Europe's main waterway that sustains half of the continent's economy by transporting everything from coal and oil to containers from China. The riverbanks host 50 million residents with thousands of factories and power plants along its banks. Today, the water level at the shallowest part of Rhine is only 75 centimeters. Some spots even just 40 centimeters deep. Cargo ships, which once carried 2,000 tons of freight, are now forced to halve their loads to avoid running aground. As a result, the cost of river transport has tripled, compelling many companies to switch to more expensive rail and road freight. Some chemical plants are outright ceasing operations because they lack sufficient water to cool their equipment. While industries can sometimes find alternatives, agriculture faces a far graver crisis. European farms are experiencing a relentless drought, already the sixth consecutive year of drought conditions, leaving farmers on the brink of catastrophe. On one side, people run air conditioners at full capacity, causing electricity consumption to spike sharply. On the other, power generation becomes increasingly difficult. French nuclear stations, for example, must reduce output because they lack enough water to cool reactors. Rivers from which they draw cooling water have become too hot and shallow to serve this purpose safely. Hydroelectric plants are also suffering. Reservoirs are drying up, and in Switzerland, the water levels in alpine lakes that supply hydro plants have dipped by 5 meters. This creates a vicious cycle. The hotter it gets, the more energy evaporates that could be used for cooling. Yet it becomes harder to produce that energy in the first place. Meanwhile, the tourism sector in southern Europe faces outright disaster, with hotels in Greece and Spain reporting widespread cancellations due to extreme temperatures making travel uncomfortable or unsafe. Unexpectedly, destinations like Ireland, Denmark, and even Norway are gaining popularity as tourists seek relief further north. People are fleeing the heat, causing a surge in northern tourism that local businesses struggle to accommodate. Currently, hotels in the region are fully booked for the next month, highlighting how the Irish coolness has become an elusive luxury. Meanwhile, many tech companies are experiencing significant losses. Airports are operating with persistent delays. Runways heat up to 60 degrees Celsius, causing asphalt to melt under the relentless sun. European economists hesitate to quantify the total economic damage caused by this unprecedented heat wave, but early estimates suggest it could amount to hundreds of billions of euros. Yet, this is only the beginning, as summer remains far from over. Serendipitously, amidst Europe's water shortages and efforts to conserve every drop, a hidden strain is emerging beneath the surface. Vast water-consuming machines are tirelessly working in underground data centers. Ironically, we fuel these monsters daily, often unaware of their existence or their enormous thirst. These facilities, servers that keep the internet alive, consume staggering amounts of water, essential for cooling their equipment. While farmers in Spain struggle to irrigate their fields and French authorities restrict residents from watering gardens, tech giants continue expanding their data infrastructure across Europe. To grasp the scale, consider that a single Microsoft data center can use around 84 million liters of water each year, 4 times the figure the company publicly reports. Meta, meanwhile, plans to build a data center in Spain that will require nearly 645 million liters annually, with a continuous flow of about 195 liters per second, comparable to leaving a fire hydrant open nonstop. The shock deepens when we learn about the water footprint of artificial intelligence. A researcher from the University of California calculated that each GPT-try conversation, involving roughly 250 questions and answers, consumes about 500 milliliters of water for server cooling. Training GPT-try required roughly 700,000 liters within a month, just direct water use, excluding the energy needed for servers. The irony is striking. Data centers responsible for supporting the digital world are suffering from the same drought conditions plaguing Europe. In 2002, during a record heat wave, Google's servers in the UK overheated and shut down. Globally, data centers use over 1 billion liters of water every day, with a single large facility consuming between 3.5 to 17 million liters daily, roughly equivalent to a city of 50,000 residents. In an era where Europe faces its most severe drought in over 500 years, such water demands are especially alarming. The paradox becomes painfully clear. While Spanish farmers lose up to 90% of their crops due to irrigation restrictions, nearby tech companies plan to expand their water-hungry data centers. Various efforts are underway to find alternatives. Microsoft is experimenting with submarine data centers, and Russian companies are developing Arctic facilities. However, these are mere drops in the ocean, as most servers still rely on traditional water cooling systems. Worse, the most severe challenges of water scarcity and climate stress lie ahead. Climate models predict that if current warming trends continue, regions like Italy and Spain will resemble the arid landscapes of Tunisia and even Morocco within the next 2 to 3 decades, replacing lush valleys and vineyards with barren, scorched terrain. Meanwhile, waters off Miami's shores have already heated to 31 degrees Celsius, far above the typical 26 that characterizes those waters. This excess heat hampers the ocean's ability to perform its vital function of absorbing surplus warmth, causing a disruption in the climate system. As a result, excess heat remains trapped in the atmosphere, intensifying surface temperatures and fueling a vicious cycle. Hotter land amplifies ocean warming, which in turn reduces the ocean's cooling capacity, further exacerbating terrestrial heat. Climatologists refer to this phenomenon as thermal runaway, a process that becomes increasingly difficult to halt. Having surveyed the global climate landscape, it is time to confront the pressing question: are these conditions a temporary anomaly, or have we entered a new reality? The answer is grim. According to European monitoring agencies, 2024 was the hottest year in 174 years of recorded data, and the upcoming 2025 is likely to rank among the top 3 hottest years. We now live in an era where each new year sets a fresh record for heat, and this pattern is no coincidence but a clear trend. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warns that over the next few decades in Europe, we will see annual temperatures surpassing 50 degrees Celsius. If global temperatures rise 3 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, An estimated 129,000 Europeans could die each year from heat-related causes. Scientists suggest radical intervention strategies, such as injecting aerosols into the stratosphere to reflect sunlight or artificially creating clouds over oceans to cool water surfaces. However, these geoengineering solutions are still experimental and face significant uncertainty. Paradoxically, Russia might temporarily benefit from these climate shifts. Some scientists argue that the country is entering a zone of expanding habitable territory, with climate zones migrating northward at rapid rates, several hundred kilometers per decade. As Europe becomes desertified and many terrestrial and marine environments turn uninhabitable, Russia's vast spaces could emerge as a new climate refuge for the planet. Siberia and the Far East are expected to experience milder temperatures, increased precipitation, and longer agricultural growing seasons. Yet, this potential respite comes with a significant risk. The thawing of permafrost and vast frozen soils could release massive quantities of methane, an extremely potent greenhouse gas, 25 times more effective at trapping heat than carbon dioxide. This release could trigger an uncontrollable acceleration of planetary warming, compounding the climate crisis. One of the most alarming future scenarios involves climate-driven migration. If southern Europe becomes a desert and the Middle East and North Africa become uninhabitable, the world may face an unprecedented migration crisis. Hundreds of millions of climate refugees could be forced to seek new homes, marking a humanitarian and geopolitical upheaval unlike any in history. People will inevitably migrate toward regions still habitable, such as parts of Canada, Russia, and the Nordic countries. This shift will place immense pressure on borders and social infrastructures worldwide. The current migration crises in Europe may soon seem minor compared to the challenges awaiting in the coming decades. Already, these environmental and demographic changes are reshaping the global economic landscape. If Europe continues to lose its appeal due to climate deterioration, economic hubs could move northward. Cities like Murmansk might rival Rotterdam, while Arkhangelsk could become the new Hamburg. Metropolises fundamentally transformed by shifting zones of activity. Similarly, agricultural zones are migrating toward the poles. Potatoes are now cultivated in Greenland, and trials with vineyards are underway in northern Canada. Within a few decades, Russia, Canada, and Scandinavian nations could emerge as primary global food suppliers. Experts are now focusing less on preventing these transformations and more on adapting to them. This involves building dams, redesigning city layouts, developing new transportation systems, and relocating entire regions. Changes that might occur within the lifetime of today's generations. The extreme weather events observed now, such as Spain's heat wave soaring to 46 degrees Celsius, drying rivers in Germany, and widespread wildfires across Greece, are no longer anomalies but have become the new normal. Across the Atlantic, the situation is similarly dire. Phoenix, the United States' sun-baked capital, registers temperatures for 19 consecutive days not falling below 43 degrees, and nighttime temperatures remain uncomfortably high. The National Weather Service warns of possible daytime highs reaching 48 degrees Celsius. In New York City, known for its towering skyscrapers, temperatures have hit plus 37, with humidity making it feel closer to 50 degrees. The economic toll of such heat waves in the United States alone is estimated at $100 billion annually, accounting only for direct costs. Indirect effects, such as equipment failures and increased healthcare expenses for heat-related illnesses, compound this burden. In summary, the climate crisis is accelerating transformations across the globe, urging societies to prepare for a future where adaptation, not prevention, is key to survival.